Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and welcome. Tonight, it is, where's the date? 10/21/20. This is episode number 8 of our second full season of the IHSEA podcast.
We're calling these seasons now?
Well, I mean, how else are you going to number them? You don't want to just start over at number 8 for this year. So, this is season 2.
Whatever you say.
That's how they
like 2020, 2021, no?
Walked into some family drama right off the start. Huh?
Yeah, that's how we roll. If you haven't watched us before, we just do it live, and it's whatever we talk about. So, with me here is, as always, Keith Kennedy. He's right down below me today because we do have a special guest, Callum Fletcher, also known as Fizzy Fletch on Twitter. Go ahead and say hi and let everyone know who you are.
Hello, I'm Flizzy Fletch. I go by Fletch often. Director of Esports at Illinois Wesleyan University. Excited to have the opportunity to chat high school and collegiate esports with you guys. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, and this kicks off our first collegiate edition, so I'm really happy to have you here. Over the next probably like 10 weeks, I have lined up lots of schools from Illinois, people in the industry of esports and gaming. And so we just want to kind of offer these podcasts to have an opportunity for kids to interact with the people they might be interacting with once they graduate, or even before they graduate, to possibly end up land a job or opportunity to play collegiate esports. So
yeah,
I want to thank you for kicking off our collegiate and post secondary run here. I think it wanted to have you on as a guest because I've been seeing you everywhere lately, and I figured, why not just reach out to him, because I haven't talked to you in
it's been a while,
probably 2 years, probably at least 2 years
since the RMU land, right?
I was gonna say I wasn't even at the RMU.
Yeah, I was saying he hasn't. I talked to him around then, but now
I was gonna say it's just kind of like emails and Twitter DMs occasionally for us, but it's been a while.
It's probably been like 3 years then, since like when you first started at Wesleyan.
Yeah, well, let's break that tonight.
Yeah, there we go. Let's start this kind of over. So we wanted to, kind of have you run your show. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to start talking about what you guys do at Wesleyan and kind of go from there.
Yeah. Let's talk IHSEA Esports. So, Illinois Wesleyan sorry, I'm going to give you kind of like my sales pitch here.
And that's what this is for, though, for you, because
expectation, to be honest.
We want you guys, I want to showcase the Illinois schools in particular, because 90% of our kids are going to go to Illinois schools. So it makes no sense to, do Hodunk, not at least, for the major ones, but not do Hodunk school in, North Dakota that's doing esports. It's like, I want to do the Illinois schools because you guys are going to recruit mostly from Illinois if possible.
Right.
So
Illinois Wesleyan Esports started 3 years ago. In that time, we have gone on to become kind of one of the big collegiate powerhouses in esports. And we've done that a few ways. So I joined the team when the program didn't exist, right? Like, I was brought on to quite literally build the program. The school had said, like, okay, we're here. We want to be here. Get us from A to B, right? And so I came on and immediately was in my mind, I'm going, okay, well, like, we want to focus on community. We want to focus on all these other holistic sense of esports, right? So like the job opportunities, broadcasting, content creation, competition, everything, right? But I'm also a very competitive person. So I also recognized pretty quickly that, like, I want to bring in a good team. If we're going to build an esports program, like, let's do it right. And so we brought on a League of Legends team. They were good. Certainly not like national attention grabbing team, but they were good. They put us kind of like the upper of the middle of the pack. So like, I would say we're probably like, if out of the top 25 teams, we were like number 27, right? And then we kind of had some holes that we filled over the course of the next year. We brought in our second team, and then that second team was like, oh, dang, these guys are the real deal. Then we brought in Fortnite, and we added Fortnite, and we brought in a really good team for Fortnite, and that kind of put us on the map for that game. And then as we were doing all of this, we're kind of looking at like the bigger picture. Okay, so like, what should collegiate esports look like, right? Because I think there's a perception of what collegiate esports is versus what it actually is, right? So like, what it actually is a lot of programs being operated by one person, student coaches all over the place, low budgets, low buy-in from universities, things like that. So we wanted to try and be the kind of school that fixes those issues, right? So as we're putting together this kind of expansion and we're saying, okay, like we can roll with this momentum. We got a pretty good thing going here. What do we need to do to kind of build out to be tier 1, right? So we went from being like kind of on the map to being like, oh damn, these guys are on the map, and then now we're like, okay, let's take over. And so we brought in 2 full-time staff members, which is 2 more full-time staff members than like 99% of programs. We offer competitive salaries for those people. We brought in some student workers that are exceptional. Our student worker team this year is great. We added 3 new games, so we're competing in 5 titles. Like the 5 biggest collegiate esports titles are all games that we play. And then we took it one step further and we built a new facility, or renovated a new facility. So our new space is 5,700 square feet. There's 52 computers. There's a broadcast studio. There's 2 separate play spaces. It's 2 stories. There's a student lounge to hang out in. There's a second student lounge to hang out in the lower level. There's offices. There's a competition room. I mean, there's a conference room. Like the space is like, when you see YouTube videos of like football teams showing off their locker rooms, right? And they've got like the barber shop in their locker room and things like that.
Jeez.
That was kind of our like kind of the goal that we wanted, is like we want students to be able to come into the space and be like, this is where I want to play.
Right. This is where I want to hang out. This is where I want to be.
Right. Because again, like if you're looking, if it's between Illinois Wesleyan and some random school in North Dakota, like you said, and they've got 10 computers in a computer lab, and then you come into our space and you just see our facility, you're kind of like, oh, whoa, hold on. This is the real deal, right? And we recognize that, if we want students to come to Illinois Wesleyan to compete, we want them to represent the real deal. We don't want this kind of imitation collegiate esports. So that's what we do in a nutshell.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to unpack there. I think the biggest thing that you were talking about was a university adequately funding a program, and it's not just about even just getting the space. Like you ended with a really good space, and you really could do it without the space. But it's more about getting the personnel, getting the right mindset for the actual program. If people haven't been following, there's a lot of talk right now on Twitter about compensation for college coaches, and the fact that they're being given money, but and called coaches, but they're not really coaches. They're more general managers of an entire program that really needs more than just a coach's salary, because there's so much that is involved in esports.
Yeah, I tell students to really, you really need to do your research when you're looking into this space, because there's so many different things that you can get out of a collegiate esports program, right? So our League of Legends head coach, for example, is a guy named Command Attack. He is, in my opinion, 100% top 3 League of Legends coaching collegiate. He's probably one of the best coaches in amateur community as well. He played professionally for a split in Australia. He has played in collegiate at the highest level. Like he worked with Cloud9 for training grounds. Like he's a all around good, well packaged individual, right? So when you're looking at esports programs, you can come and play for a professional League of Legends coach, or you can go play for a freshman in college at some other university, right? Who is acting as a head coach, and then their facilitator oversees 6 other games, right? And they have the title of head coach. So you're 100% right, because you have this situation where like programs are getting into esports, and esports in the collegiate space is used for recruiting, right? Like that's no secret. Colleges are diving into esports to recruit students to their university. The problem is like there's schools like ours who are diving in a big way and supporting it the right way to achieve both the university goals and the esports goals. And then there are schools that are investing like $20,000 into their entire esports program, including staff and salaries, with the idea that they're going to bring in students, right? And I think that's kind of deceiving. I think if you're going to create a program to bring in students, you should create the best possible program that you can. And we're not at that place yet.
Right. Yeah, and I've seen a lot of programs build the arena first. I'm like, hey, we have this brand new arena, but then there's nothing else behind it. It's just like an empty shell, and there's one person running the entire show and trying to recruit and do all this other stuff.
Yep.
And so I think it's like, it's coming off like, oh yeah, fancy new lab, but some of these kids are actually coming from fancy labs in high school nowadays. So it's like that doesn't wow them for the most part, because they have that.
So one of my players who graduated last year actually says that our lab was nicer than the one he has now at his university, and
Mm-hmm.
our lab is literally 15 computers in a room on random tables.
And in defense of the high school and in defense of the college, that like, I mean, there are high schools with better football stadiums than colleges, right? Like they do exist. Yeah, you guys are some of them.
my school, when I came here, the big hoopla when I came here was the $2 million put into a scoreboard.
Yep. So
I'm getting paid this much.
They they do exist, right? So like it is very possible, but again, like that's on the students to do the research, right? And so as facilitators, like you guys can recommend good programs to go to, but at the end of the day, like it is going to fall back down onto the students to understand, like, okay, what do you want out of it, right? Is your objective goal just to go to a school and like you don't necessarily care about esports? It's just kind of like that thing that you're going to do on the side, and you choose your school based on where you want to go to school. Are you choosing your school because of esports? Well, in that case, then obviously like do more research, find out like what the staffing structure is, find out what the facilities are, find out what the future plans are for growth, right? Find out what leagues they compete in. And I think more often than not, what you see is these kids get so blinded by the scholarship, which is such a powerful tool these days, where like a kid can come to their friends and be like, yeah, I've got an esports scholarship to so-and-so school for $15,000. Okay, but like, what does that esports scholarship get you if you're just going and playing on a team, right? Like if that's what you're getting out of the experience, you could be getting so much more if you just do your research, right?
Right.
And so it's tough because there's so many options right now, right? Like we've got like 300 plus or like 200 plus varsity programs. And I could probably name 20 to 30 that I would recommend people go to.
And I've really been like, when I try to bring recruiters last year, I'm trying to push line players. I have some really high ranked players in Overwatch, especially. Like, you guys you are too talented to let this go to the waste. Please find a program. But I'm always saying, like, look at these first.
Yep.
And try to look at the big name ones, especially Illinois, for some reason, is full of these things.
Yeah, Illinois has some of the best programs. I was literally thinking about this earlier today. I think Illinois has I don't know any other state that has 2 of the top 10 schools. Like, I think Illinois State 100% has crept their way into the top 10, and they've been a team for like 2 months, right? Like their program's brand new.
I'm so proud to see them doing that as an ISU cred.
And I worked closely with them to kind of get them off the ground. And Kirk, who has come in as their director, Kirk is awesome, like a 10 out of 10 dude. There is virtually zero doubt that they will be a top 10 program for a very, very long time. And so like, I genuinely cannot think of another state that has 2 top 10 programs in the same state, let alone in the same town. Right. And
it's so weird. It's concentrated in the middle of a cornfield surrounded with a city in it.
Well, and that kind of creates this like cool element. Like Kirk and I have already talked, and obviously COVID kind of stunts a lot of this, but we've talked about kind of how we can create this kind of collegiate esports mecca, if you will, in Bloomington Normal, right? Because we are so central. We're literally smack dab in the middle of Illinois. You've got 2 schools with really good teams in all the games they play. You got a lot of high schools. Illinois is obviously a hugely budding state for high school esports, right? Like Illinois is so situated well for success alongside of like Missouri and things like that. It'd be a shame to waste it, but yeah, I mean, if kids are in high school right now and they're looking to go to school in Illinois, I mean, you've got Illinois College, you've got Illinois State, you've got Western Illinois. I know you've got Lincoln. I know RMU obviously is kind of in this.
They're Roosevelt now, right?
Yeah, they're in this like weird purgatory state with esports.
Doesn't Heartland have a team now?
Yeah, Heartland's got a team. You've got UIUC, which is a stupidly good student-run club. Like,
wait, they're not varsity yet?
No.
They're Big Ten. They won't be varsity.
Well, like
Yeah.
they've been like top of the Big Ten league forever, haven't they?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
but
but
I mean, like, but here's the thing: that you got 55,000 kids there, right? I think. Is that how many kids they've got? Let's look at this. Let's see UIUC population.
Yeah, and the thing is they don't.
Right?
Yeah, they don't need to recruit because they have the kids already there with their engineering
But
programs.
they have to turn people down anyway. So yeah,
Right. If you got 44,000 kids, chances are you can build a pretty good team, right? And like, that's not to say like globally that's going to work, but like the odds are stacked in your favor. If you've got 44,000 kids, you've got 5 decent,
especially the
years.
most popular majors at UIUC. Probably attract those, especially league players.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and the skill level of those, like it's a good school and the team's good. Therefore, like even if they don't recruit, like other good players will go. Yeah, UIC is situated very well. But like at the end of the day, right? If you're in Illinois, you've got 7 or 8 schools to go.
Don't forget
that
about
are just,
DePaul
like,
too. DePaul's
power
coming up there.
schools. What's that?
I said DePaul.
Yeah, DePaul. So I think they just went varsity. What, like last year?
Yeah, last year they went varsity, and
Right.
and they actually put a lot more into it this year. And I know Courtney, who's been doing a lot of that. I met her before she even started. She came to our land and was like, "Hey, I'm going to be in charge of this esports thing at DePaul. Can you help me out with stuff?" Because she had really no idea. They just kind of put her in. She actually took it and run, and now she's like esports 101 at DePaul. Like she's the person to go to. So it's really awesome.
Man,
to see
I want
that.
to teach esports classes.
That's a whole other topic we should talk about. Yeah, but like it's Illinois is in such a good place, right? Like if you are in Illinois as a high school student, and you're not necessarily looking to like, or if your mental as a high school student is like, I want to get out of Illinois, I want to leave, but I also want to do esports, right? Like take a look at the programs in Illinois, because like they're actually insanely good.
Oh, and especially if you're coming from the Chicago area, you're going down to Normal. It's a different world anyway down there.
Yeah,
So
100%.
I can speak on this. It is so different. Like Blono is half the size of Naperville.
Yeah.
And it's a weirdly similar culture in certain places.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Otherwise, like more or less just central Illinois culture.
So
different.
It's interesting too, because like when I recruit students, we talk about kind of this school in the middle of Illinois, right? And I express them like, you don't necessarily feel like you're in like an isolated city in the middle of Illinois, right? There's always something happening. Maybe
There's
not so much
uptown and downtown,
right? Maybe not so much with COVID going on, but I think that's kind of everywhere. But there's always something happening. There's tons of places to be. There's tons of things to do. You've got 20,000 college kids in the same town. So like, no matter even if you come to Wesleyan, where we have a population of 1,700, you're going to experience a college life of a bigger college town, right? And then you come to Illinois Wesleyan and you get the academics that you're not going to get at most state schools. Like it's kind of a full package, if you ask me.
Well, of course you're going to give us the full package. That's the whole point. That's your job, isn't it?
100%. Right. Well, that's literally, I tell people that, and I tell parents that when I'm recruiting them. I'm like, look, our academically, Illinois Wesleyan is probably in the top like 5 of like varsity collegiate programs, right? Like there's a lot of really good schools in collegiate esports, but I think like there are few that match Illinois Wesleyan. And then you also get a top 10 college esports program, right? And so you have this situation where like if you're a player and your goal is to go pro, well, we have the coaching resources to help you with that, right? Like we have coaches that have played pro or have worked with pros or have a network to pros, right? And like our varsity players get coached from our professional coach, as do our JV players, right? So we create this system where if you come in as a Diamond 4 level player, you're still going to get the same coaching that our challenger level players are going to get, right? And if your goal is to improve at a game, that's powerful. Alternatively, you can go to a school where your head coach is a student coach, right? That's a tough talking point, because like student coaches can and genuinely there are a lot of good student coaches. But I think they lack a lot of experience, right? Like if you're a student coach, I'm going to ask you, hey, what's your experience? And they're going to say, well, I coached a college team, or like I played competitively, right? That wouldn't get a football coach a job anywhere. Right. And so I think there's something to say like between having a full-time staff member at the university who's dedicated to coaching versus a student coach, right? And so like for us, our head coaches are head coaches. Like they don't have other jobs at the university. They're not librarians. They're not teachers. They're not IT. Like they are literally esports. And people always sit there like, I get parents all the time that are like, so what else do you do at the university? And I'm like, no, I do esports full time. And they're like, no, but like you you also teach classes, right? And I'm like, no, like I literally come in and work esports all day.
Man, I would love that. Holy hell. I love teaching. I love my kids, and I wouldn't give up like starting this program for the world. But sometimes like being able to do it full time and have the time and to dedicate and do what I want to do with the team instead of splitting my time between teaching and this would be very nice.
Dude, it's not for everyone though, right? Like it's especially starting programs, like it is. God. There's a lot of people that deal with some major burnout, and like I know a lot of people at even like the tier 1 programs, right? Like there was literally like 2 weeks ago, or no, like probably like 3 weeks ago now, I apologized to my head coaches because I was so burnt out that I took like 3 or 4 days off. Like I was just like a ghost in my head, right? But like we were in a situation where we'd onboarded 2 full-time staff. So this beginning of this year was a nightmare for me.
Oh boy.
Beginning of this year, my full-time League of Legends head coach quit like a month before the school year started. He got a good opportunity in sales with a friend, so like good for him. But he quit literally a month before school started, and I had to find 2 full-time hires. We onboarded 20 new students, 3 new games, got all these leagues started, and then like all of this is happening as our new hires are starting as well. And
everyone's just panicking.
Well, and we're moving into a new facility, right? So we're installing the chairs, and because the school's dealing with COVID setup still. So like we put like me and my League of Legends coach, like his first day on the job was literally drilling 70 chairs together. Like I was like, welcome to campus. Here's a drill.
Assembling these chairs is not super hard, but it's time consuming.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, like we were literally like, we're both like drenched in sweat. Like we had multiple drills going. Like it was just it was tough. But we got there and we made it through, and here we are. But yeah.
So what titles do you offer at Wesleyan? What's your full?
Yeah. So we have Rocket League, League of Legends, Overwatch, Smash Brothers, and Fortnite. Our League of Legends team has a head coach. Our Fortnite team, or our Overwatch team, has a full-time head coach. Our Rocket League team has a head coach who's actually from Lithuania.
Where'd you find them?
In Lithuania.
Did I find him? I think someone recommended him to me. No, maybe I think he reached out to me. So we got him from Lithuania. Our Smash coach is a student coach. But he is the number 1 player in all of the Chicagoland region, or at least was before he came down to Bloomington. And then our Fortnite coach Parker is one of our players who has moved more into a coaching capacity. So
big list. Really big list.
Yeah. Well, and we have a broadcast team and content team, and like, I mean, as I said, you know, we try and do it right. I preach accessibility often. I'd be lying if we didn't offer accessibility.
So how does your content and broadcast team work?
Yeah, we have 2 students who pretty much lead that team. We have a graphic designer who helps with our assets every week and puts together match graphics and time slates and everything. I think realistically, the weakest part of our program, like as a whole, is our social media and broadcasting team right now. But it's also like the newest puzzle piece that we're putting into play, right? So we have a goal so we're doing 15 matches a week. And by spring, our goal is to have 100% of those matches broadcasted with commentators. So we're big on creating opportunities for students at Wesleyan. So we have a broadcast studio within our facility that any of our students are welcome to come in and do broadcasting and get behind the cameras and get behind the mics and cast games. We're working on some other content pieces that are external to broadcasting and content creation. And so it kind of enables students to come in and get multiple different facets of content creation. We're working on some strategies for social media in the spring to kind of empower our students to really run our social media platform as well. So again, like the beginning of this year really focused on getting our new students in, all of our leagues started, kind of like getting that stability, especially like training 2 new full-time hires. And making everyone self-sufficient and very efficient. And then now we're starting to transition into like, okay, like now that we've got everyone doing these puzzle pieces, what else can we do, right? So we're working on guest speakers for our students that we're actually thinking about opening up to the broader collegiate community as well, just to kind of help everybody. We're looking at summer camps for not only students, but also like professional development camps for like being able to send like your coaches. As a high school teacher, you can send your student coach, or like you can come and learn how to actually be a good League of Legends coach from a professional coach, right? So we're working on ways. Yeah, like the way we see it is like, everyone, like I've already talked here about like the caliber of skill in collegiate, right? So the only way to build that up is to help build it up, right? And so we have resources at our disposal that other schools don't have. So we want to make that accessible to other schools, right? So having a coaching camp where you can come in and quite literally learn how to do picks and bans, right? Because picks and bans is one of these things where like you can have an idea, but you could literally spend 6 hours and still not know everything about picks and bans, right?
My first time doing pick ban with my first team, man, am I lucky those guys could flex pick on the dumb picks that I panic made. Yeah. Because I'm like, okay, I just drafted us into a really hard lose comp. Okay, you're picking Silas. Yep. And then we just ran with it. And
it's one of these things where like I'll talk to TJ, who's Command Attack, our League of Legends coach, and TJ would be like, oh yeah, they lost pick in blue 3. And I'm like, what do you mean they lost?
Yeah, what does that even mean? Right.
And he's sitting here like, if we don't screw up drafting phase at blue 3, like there's no way we lose this game as long as we like play the game well, right?
Yeah.
And so understanding and learning and getting the ideas from there. So like learning how like conflict resolution, learning various game strategies, learning different compositions, right? Like giving the high school and collegiate community those tools so that like if you do have a student coach who's not necessarily the best coach, have them come and do this coaching session or this coaching course. And you're not going to be an expert coach, right? Like you're not going to leave a tier 1 best of best coach, but hopefully you leave better. Sorry, I got something in my eye. Hopefully you leave better than when you came in.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And I think like, we're talking about having college and high school coaches there and everything. I think one of the really cool things, like if you could have some sort of like sponsor a high school coach type thing for the college coaches, because high schools literally have negative budget for like esports. Like most of us spend money out of our pockets to get anything for our kids and pay the fees ourselves. And I think like I've looked at some of these college things that they do and like look at NACAD and things like that, and I'm like, I have so much other stuff to do. I can't afford to pay for that and then go to some of these classes and do some of the cool stuff.
And that's the challenge, right? Like figuring out how to make it accessible. Because you're totally right. Like you don't have time, neither do we, right? So like, okay, so how do and we have the resources to send our people to camps and things like that, but the investment in the collegiate space is already low. It's even lower in the high school space, right? And so trying to figure out like, okay, what's the audience? How does this work? How can we make this accessible? Are there opportunities for other sorts of accessibility in that space? So it's all brand new to us as well. Like this is the first year we're thinking about doing something like this, or first year we're doing something like this, I should say. And so realistically, I expect this year we'll start off small and try and figure out like, okay, this is what worked. This is what didn't work. Okay, here's how we can scale it up for 2021. And just kind of continue to grow into it, because at the end of the day, right, like it's a no-brainer if you have the resources to offer the knowledge to other people. It's just got to be meaningful enough for us to put in the work, meaningful enough for our coaches to put in the work, meaningful enough for people like you guys to be able to come and attend and get value out of it, right? Like there's a lot of different pieces that have to fit perfectly before we can really dive in.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if it just thinking off the top of my head here, like piggybacking it on top of another conference or something, like making it the 2 days after a conference, like UCI or something that's like, Thursday, Friday, or, something where you can easily like be like, okay, stay an extra 2 days and you can stay for all these coaching classes, right, and then do that where it's like you already have the days off, you already have that, set up, and it's like, oh yeah, just stay an extra 2 days, just pay for hotel. I already had everything, arranged or whatever. Yep. I think, because that would make a more worthwhile trip to do a little bit something else with that. So
yeah, and I think there's kind of this like expectation that we'll bring in some partners. I know Evil Geniuses is interested. I think the NACAD is one of those organizations that would be interested in this kind of thing. So like there's definitely opportunities to make it better and more accessible, right? What it looks like, I just don't know yet, right?
Right, exactly. It's still, guess what? You're starting another program. Yeah. Good luck.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
So
someone in the chat asked, is there a date for the event? Just to be clear, no, there is not. It'll likely be a summer experience. We just don't have that information locked in yet.
Yeah. And just to go over, there were some other questions in chat, like how do you do recruiting for example? Like, how, if a student
Yeah.
does want to get recruited or a student wants to be saw, like, I know you guys do sometimes watch streams and watch games or something you see on Twitter pops up. You will watch it, maybe check out a little more about it. But how do you go about finding stuff? Because a lot of kids and a lot of coaches in high school have no idea how to get noticed by the colleges.
Right. So it's funny too, because like I know college or high school students are like, I don't know how to get noticed, and like I tell my coaches, any opportunity to get in front of high school students is a good opportunity, right?
Yep.
And so like in a non-traditional COVID year, our coaches would do high school visits, and they would come in and they'd set up a table outside your cafeteria, and
I think we were like in the process of setting one up for my school, and then everything hit.
Yep. It's one of those. That's a big one for us, is like literally going and just tabling, right? Because at the end of the day, like what I find is there's a lot of students at schools who don't even know esports is a thing at their school, right? And they don't even know it's a thing at in the collegiate level. I got a kid this year who walked onto our Rocket League team, Victor, who had no idea that Illinois Wesleyan even had esports. He's a freshman this year, right? Like, and this is a kid that like is a high profile recruit for me had I known he existed.
Right. If you even knew he was coming or
right.
had an idea of coming. Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where like he didn't know about us, I didn't know about him, right? Like it's a missed opportunity. And so any opportunity to get in front of high school students is a good opportunity. Typically we'll do tabling, we'll look through Be Recruited, we'll look through NCSA, like all these recruiting platforms. We'll do Twitter and social media outreach. If you're interested, you can fill out the interest form on our website, which is iwu.edu/esports. You can message us on Twitter. My Twitter is @FlizzyFletch, which is right. Let's see. Hold on. There's a delay, but it's somewhere around here.
Other side, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's reversed.
Honestly, like if you're interested in coming to Illinois Wesleyan, like we want you to come, right? Like we want to create an experience for you, and we work really hard to create an experience for every skill level of player, right? So every one of our games has 3 teams: a varsity, a B team, and a C team. And if you're not a varsity level player, we'll find a home for you and we'll work with you. And if you're so low of a level player that like you don't even fit on the C team, you'll still get access to the coach. And you'll still work with the coach. You just won't necessarily play on those teams, right? But then there's
you guys had Wesleyan versus Evil Wesleyan in one of those tournaments a little while ago.
Yeah. So that was an unfortunate circumstance of the bracket in which like the tiebreaker happened and forced our B team to play against our A team, and so we just made one of them the Evil IWU, and we just like flipped the logo upside down and gave it like a red tint, and then made it IWU versus Evil IWU. Just had fun with it, right? Like at the end of the day, like collegiate, it's meant to be fun, right? We do take it super seriously. We want to win championships and we want to compete at the highest level, and we do. But like we also want to have fun with it. So like we do a lot of just kind of things like that to mess around and keep spirits high with the players. Like we did an Among Us game night a few weeks ago. I know
Don't start this. My players are in chat.
Yeah.
You're about to see the code to join now. Watch.
Our players our Titan Gaming Club is working on a 1v1 tournament and movie nights and things like that. And then there's other things that like if you're interested in coming in, but like let's say you're a student who's interested in coming into Wesleyan but doesn't necessarily want to play on the team. Okay, like if you're interested in event management, we have opportunities to get involved with event management. If you're interested in running a club, like okay, we've got opportunities for that, right? So it's one of these situations where like there's literally something for everybody in our esports program. You just got to do your research and know what you want to do.
Yeah, and I think that's key. I think that's one thing that we stress with the IHSEA is we're not just there to have the competitions for people to show off their skills. We're there to help people build programs and get interested in the things and let students shoutcast and let students get that experience beforehand. And I think let the students do the graphic work like this. I believe this one was created by a student. If not, most of the other ones are created by students. And so we have, try to have our students do our overlays and do our thumbnails and just to give them that experience. And so, that's what we want to provide for the college is to offer to them. Be like, hey, yeah, I already have experience working with IHSEA doing this. And when they come to you with that, that, hey, this kid knows what he's doing and knows how to run a program. So I think it's really important to talk about those other things about being a complete program, and we don't want the schools just to have a coach sponsor, that's just there while they're playing games and not actually help coaching them and helping build this program. So we want to keep working with schools to build their program and blow it up and make it more than just the competition side, because esports really is more about competition, and there is this growth and stuff that you can use. Every time I talk to someone about esports, I always plug now I forgot it. We put it up on the last podcast, but it's the diagram of esports opportunities in professional and collegiate and all that.
I swear I pinned that in our chat. Give me a second.
Yeah, it's somewhere. I know we posted it last week and we talked about it a bunch. We're talking about what it can be, but I think that just showing kids talking to one of our guys one of our students who's a senior, and he does most of our overlays for Rocket League, and tell him hey, have you seen Boise State's broadcast stuff? And he was like, oh yeah, my dad knows someone in broadcast, and he was talking about that it could be a good opportunity for me, and I never realized I could do that for esports. And it's like. Yeah, you can, and you could get a scholarship to go do that if you are experienced enough. So
it's one of these things where so when I got started in esports, I made every opportunity for myself, right? So I'm 29 now, and as far as esports is concerned, I'm old as hell, right?
Yep.
When I was in school, so I graduated in 2014, right? Collegiate esports started in 2014, officially at a varsity level. When I was in college. If you wanted to if you wanted to do something in esports, you had to find the opportunity yourself and make it happen yourself, right? There wasn't collegiate esports to rely on. You couldn't go to a school for esports broadcasting or anything like this, right? I don't think that's how it should be anymore, because people like me exist, right? Because people like you guys exist. It is my vision and goal that you can come into my program and get exactly what you want out of it. If you want to be a professional player, okay, we're going to give you the resources to be a professional player. If you want to be a broadcaster, okay, let's give you the opportunities to be a broadcaster. If you want to be an event manager, okay, we're going to give you the resources to be an event manager. And we've had multiple students come into our program and actually get internships in the esports industry based on experience that they got within our program. So we have a track record of being able to accomplish this. We're working on a kind of more official pipeline, if you will, because Illinois Wesleyan is number 7 in the United States for job placement out of college. 97, it's 97 or 98% of our grads are employed or in grad school within 6 months.
Wow.
That's insane.
Really yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And so my mental is that should extend to esports, right? If you come to Illinois Wesleyan, you want to work in esports, we're going to get you into esports. And so we are very persistent on creating those opportunities that you can come in and experience esports holistically, right? If you're interested in getting behind the camera, we'll make an opportunity for you to get behind the camera. If you find out that's not where you want to be, okay, we can still figure out where we want to put you and where you want to go. But once you find that niche, right? We're gonna hit it and get you that experience and get you meaningful practice. As I said, I've been up.
We all have those moments. You're
right.
You're fine. We all have those moments.
But we're going to get you meaningful experience to get you actually practicing and in this space so that you can put it on a resume, turn that into an internship. That internship turns into network opportunities. Your internship then turns into a job when you get out of college. And then that obviously in turn then trickles back down to us where okay, now you're working at Evil Geniuses. And we've got a kid graduating that we think would be great there, and we can kind of start building those relationships out like that, right? You shouldn't go to a school just to play games anymore, unless you specifically strictly want to play games. My opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of just thinking professional football. Hey, I want to be a professional basketball player. It's yeah, but the percentage of people who actually make it that far. Yep. Unless you're really putting in the time and effort and I've been focusing on kids in class and just saying purposeful practice, and now I can't say it because I'm on the podcast, but you can't just practice to practice. You have to be purposeful about what you're doing. And most kids in high school are yeah, I'm just going to queue up for our next one. Hey, let's go next. Let's go next. Forfeit. Let's go next. And that's not the mentality you can do. You have to take that time to back it up and look at it.
Even though my guys don't have I can't spectate games directly for Valorant especially. I just say, go to the next game, look at these particular things, and analyze what you're doing each round, and look at all these things. Because making them reflect on their own play, I had a league player had this huge breakthrough this past week of I just watch from my replays, and man, I'm slow at these things. And he does this like, okay, let's make a list then of what do you want to fix, and go to the next game and fix it.
Yep. We bought an eye tracker.
Oh wow.
Nice.
And so we have an eye tracker, and it's funny because like we had TJ was telling me he had a conversation with the team where like they were like, TJ said you should be looking at your mini map every like 30 seconds, if not like every like 15, right?
Start tracking that too.
And all of our players were like, oh, that's ridiculous. There's no way you're looking at the mini map that frequently. And then TJ played a game and then turned on like the eye tracker and shared the stream, and it's literally like
it's just literally looking at the mini map while doing everything.
Like that's his vision. Like he's literally like he's playing like all right, playing like and like right.
I get on my jungler so much for that. Is look at the map. It's your job especially.
Yep. And so right, like, but again, like those are the things that you're gonna get playing under a professional coach, right? Like it's fun because like I have this like. It's powerful to be able to say it and be right. It's powerful to be able to say it, be right, and prove it, right? Like, no, but like really we are. And here's how we're going to prove it. We're going to buy a $275 eye tracker and prove it, you know?
That's
like,
cheaper than I thought that'd be.
They're actually not bad. Yeah. Like,
is it Toby?
Yeah. So we have the Toby 5. I think it's the Toby 5 or the 5C. Is there a 5C?
There's a 4C.
No, yeah, it's the Toby 5 then. Yeah, it's $229.
That's not bad at all.
So
notes have been made.
Links have been saved.
I'll make one of my players just hate me.
It's handy for it. It's handy for every game you play, right? Like it's valuable to tell you a lot of information in League of Legends. It's valuable to tell you a lot of information in Overwatch. It's valuable, like it's good all over the place. But Cubby. I appreciate that, Cubby. Thank you. Cubby just said TJ was an outstanding pickup for you guys. I totally agree. The dude's been killing it. We got genuinely so lucky with our staff this year. TJ gets a lot of credit because TJ is the most known, but like Lorenzo is our Overwatch head coach. And Lorenzo like straight up has been smurfing. He came in. Our Overwatch team is a building team this year. And what I mean by that is like, the way we build out our program is every year we'll start with a team and then we'll find the holes and then we'll fill in those holes, right? And we get better every year. And it's worked in like League of Legends, it works. Fortnite, it has worked. Our Rocket League team is on our way there, and like I'm super stoked for them. Our Overwatch team is no different, right? And so Lorenzo doesn't get enough credit because again, like he's not as known as TJ is or as I am. But he came in and we had multiple platinum level players this year. And we have no platinum level players anymore, right? And he's only been there for a month and a half. So all of our players are diamond now, which again, like in the collegiate grand scheme of things, isn't high at all. But like even we upset Becker a few weeks ago, which for a team of like players who just hit diamond, not all of them, but some of them, that's a huge upset, right? And so I'm super excited for like the future of our Overwatch team. I know he's currently recruiting like 4,500 rating players. All of our teams are awesome. Our staff is awesome. Like this year has just been super good for us.
That's awesome. That's good to hear that you're every year you're focusing on that growth and growing out that program to be something more because, again, that's what we need to bring. We had Coach Jones on last year, towards the end of the year. And it was so nice to talk to him because he's, same mentality, like trying to raise everyone up and trying to do good for everything. And I think that's, the attitude that most of these, things need to take is that we need to make sure everyone's up because everyone's still brand new. This is still, I think you said the other day when I was watching you that this is really still in its infancy. Like we're really haven't even figured anything out yet. We're still, let's put our finger in this hole and see what happens kind of deal. So I think there's
so much influence that can still happen and like is happening on a daily basis. And like, there's new players popping up every single month or every single year. There's new schools that like suddenly come out of nowhere and they're like, wait, hold up. Who the heck are you guys? You guys are freaks, right? Like this is actually insane. And then there's new schools that are like, oh, we're building a $10,000 esports arena. And like, there's so much influence that is genuinely changing the game right now that like what is in the what the collegiate space looks like right now is not at all what it's going to look like in 5 years. Like not at all. It won't even look remotely similar.
Yeah, I mean, if you just take the last 3 years of high school esports, we started with maybe like 20, 30 teams, like, really good hardcore about it. We have 60 something schools right now playing Overwatch.
It's hard to believe that my program's hitting its third year. because
Yeah.
I'm a third-year teacher. And that's a really weird concept to think about.
Yep.
Because I'm actually graduating my last of my original players this year.
I haven't
And
graduated any players yet. I'm excited to.
It's weird, like, because I had this original group of 3 Overwatch starters from the day one who've podiumed 4 times now with my group in various tournaments. I'm like, it's gonna be hard to lose you because you're good.
I've lost players that have come in as transfers. So like I've had students come in as like juniors or seniors that have graduated, but I haven't lost somebody that like came in year 1 and graduated. So I think my oldest kid right now is, I think my oldest kids are juniors.
I've
but
graduated.
Yeah, I mean that's.
Go ahead.
So
I'm super excited for it. It's gonna be a cool day.
Yeah, no, I've graduated plenty, and it's so sad to see them go, especially when you saw the growth in them, and like some of the kids who actually, like some of the kids I started off silver, and they ended up like diamond, when they actually put the work in, and watching them grow. Like one of my players that I graduated, I only worked with him 2 years, but I could have worked with him all 4. He just was too cool, I guess, to join the league team when we first started. Or it's either he was too cool or he didn't make the team the first time.
Right.
And whether that was pressure because it was brand new and this was like the very first year we started was his freshman year. But he's been the starter at DePaul now. This will be his 3rd year if he makes the starting. I think I don't know if they've done tryouts for starting positions or not, but he made transition from top to mid and he started for them every year, and they've placed top either 1 or 2 in their bracket every year. And just watching him come out, like when I would sit down for practice, he would already know exactly what's coming out on the next patch because he'd be playing PBE, know all the patch notes, know what the changes are, and I'd be like, okay, you got your 20 minutes to tell us what's coming up in the next patch that we're going to be playing on. Go for it.
Teach us.
It's just been insane for me watching a similar thing. One of my league players, she was level 35 when I started the team, and got the starting mid spot because hey, we have exactly 10 people in 2 teams. Congrats! Sure. And now she's at level 230. After 2 years and just been grinding the game.
Grinding it out.
And she doesn't even look like what people think esports players look like. She plays tennis actively.
Yeah. I mean, like, they never do, right? Like, I feel like more often than not, like, esports kids aren't, like, typical esports kids. But no, you're totally right. Like, and I've even seen this in the professional space now where, like, alumni are getting hit up that work in esports. Like some of my best friends are big dogs at a couple gaming companies, and their alumni are hitting them up and being like, hey, we know you work at X, Y, and Z. Come help us, or like, would you join our advisory board to help us start this esports program because we want to do it right? Like it's so cool and powerful to see the space grow. It's grown so much in the last few years. It's going to grow so much in the next few years. The trickle down is going to happen in the high school space. Like I secretly, like low key, like my like I want to make it really big in the collegiate world, but like when I'm good and ready to retire, like I love my high school, and I would be so cool to go back and be like the high school esports department.
Hey, what's up? I just did this giant college program for a bajillion years. I'm here to retire.
Yeah. But like, right, like I feel like that's a good way to go out. Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, you're only like what 2 or 3 years away from that now, right?
Yeah, it feels like
because you're a boomer now for esports.
Dude, it feels like it. I tell you, like it's so funny the mentality that like kids will come in every year and I'd be like, hey, do you know what a floppy drive is? And they'd be like, well, I've heard of it. Like, okay, like, do you know what the save icon is on your computer? And they're like that little like thing, right? I'm like, yeah, you know what that is? And they're like, no. I'm like, oh, that's a floppy drive. Or like I'll ask, like, do you know who Mary Kate and Ashley is? And they'll be like, who?
Oh God.
And like, but they don't know, right? It's like it's this weird industry where like we get older and the kids get younger. So there's just this like super big generational divide.
Well, I'm 24 and I'm pulling back in my days. I started teaching at 22, which is like a 5-year gap on my students, and I'm still pulling back in my days. And I'm like, this feels wrong somehow.
My first game was StarCraft, original like OG StarCraft, like before Brood War, like on dial-up. And like my kids coming in this year, like, oh yeah, my first game was Halo 3, and I'm like,
what about the first 2?
That came out when I was in college, guys. Like, chill, please. But yeah, it's fun. It's a good time. But yes, 2 years from retirement, no doubt about it. Really quick, Pater, MT Pater, if I'm not mistaken, I'm almost 100% certain that's ISU's league coach. Did I see the DOA announcement? Yes, super exciting. DOA is an alumni of BLC, and the director of BLC and I are buddies. I've actually been sleeping on that knowledge for like a week or two now. super stoked for it. I hope they are able to do what that has potential to do.
Like Doa is just a huge deal in esports.
Right. If that relationship is utilized well, like that has potential to be such a good ripple effect throughout collegiate esports. It just depends if it's utilized well, right? And like if there's no budget put behind it, if he's not given the controller resources he needs, like there's a lot of ways that could go super wrong. And have like not good effect, right? I mean, if a relationship with DOA burned on the collegiate esports space is probably not going to reflect well on other professional talent getting involved in the space. But if it's done well, and I expect it to be, because Lucas is a awesome dude. Like BLC is like super slept on. BLC should be a consistently top ranked team. Especially in like power rankings.
Now, how do power rankings work? Is it like the collegiate one for football, where it's just a bunch of coaches vote and whatever happens?
Yeah, pretty much.
But there's more programs.
They're never accurate. They're accurate to a degree. Like they're a popularity contest, but like they're never accurate. Like ISU just got on this year's coaches poll this week for League of Legends. ISU is like top 5.
Haven't they been slamming all their matches?
Yeah, ISU. They have, right? But like no one knows ISU, right? Because they're a new team, and so like there's this element of like popularity contest, right?
We know them here.
We know
two of them have played for us.
Left our program Drew left IHSEA to go to ISU.
Sure, but you guys aren't running the coaches poll, right?
Man, I wish.
So like that's the thing, right? So like there is an element of popularity contest. Like I've been saying ISU is a top 10 team this year for literally since we first played them, like first weekend of school. But not everybody knows ISU, or not everyone scrims ISU, or not everyone knows like the people who are on the team. So like they're fun, they're a conversational piece, but they're not accurate really ever.
Oh, that's the whole point of them, though. Is the more controversial it is, the more it gets talked about, the more people click on it to go there, and more people, And so it will be a long time before it actually becomes accurate, or at least to the stance that the rest of the power rankings go. But yeah, no, ISU. I mean, like Drew Dozer he's played with me for 4 years. IHSEA for 3. He played the first year I did the pilot that wasn't IHSEA, and I told him he was a one-trick cat. Like every game, cat. I'm like, Drew, you are great. You need to play something else if you want to do anything. Yep. And slowly over the course of the 3 years, he started to branch out into other champions. And now
in our second LAN, he blind picked a Nautilus mid, and just slammed on someone in semis.
Yeah, hey, if it works, it works.
And like the thing is, for casting, I was like 5 feet from him. I'm like, he just picked what? And I look at him, he just looks back at me like, "Yep, I'm playing that mid."
It's one of those, like, that's part of like. I think that's part of the problem with collegiate esports, is that there's such this massive skill discrepancy right now, in which like people can do things like that, because like we're in a league. I won't name it, but we're in a league where like we do things that we would never do in a traditional match. And like CLOL, I don't have a problem. Let's pick on CLOL because CLOL is a big one. CLOL last year, their rules. Their tiebreaker was basically who could speed run rounds quickly, right? Like their rule, it was quite literally like,
and that could mean whether or not you made it to playoffs and how fast.
Right. The tiebreaker was your average game time throughout your wins, and so
that's not how league works.
No, but like
there are some.
It's a tiebreaker. Like there's like record, then there's like it just goes down a list, and then like the one on the bottom is like time speed, right, or game speed. So it incentivized teams to finish games as quick as possible, which in theory is fine. However, the way CLOL works is high teams are seeded against low teams in the first like 4 rounds, right?
Maryville's first game was a joke.
Our times were faster than theirs. We played our total game time for our first 2 games of CLOL was 24 minutes. We won 2 games in 12 minutes.
Oh my god!
Were you playing against silvers?
No, that's how that's exactly right. We were, and that's how CLOL worked. But it because we were playing against silvers, we picked like Heimerdinger, Jinx, Ziggs. I wish I could remember. Caitlyn, and basically we picked 5 champions that could hard push towers, bully down lanes objectively,
and just do things solo.
And then we ran teleport ghost. so that we could get to lane fast with a teleport, and when we didn't have teleport, we could ghost down the mid lane to lane. And we literally just speedran teams, right? That's not how League of Legends should be played. But there's such a skill discrepancy in the space right now that like it enables things like that, like Nautilus mid, right? But you don't fix that without proper infrastructure in the collegiate space, having good competitive leagues for these teams to be a part of that removes these like it removes the Marivilles from playing against the John Does and puts the Marivilles against the Illinois Wesleyans and the Illinois States and the Harrisburgs and things like that. But like people aren't focusing on that kind of competition right now, because right now they're just trying to create this ecosystem of like anyone and everyone can get in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I hate that C law, and I think it's only what, 6 weeks, right?
Yep. So it's 6 weeks of regular play and then playoffs.
And to me, that just seems like so much, because the first 2 weeks are really just a joke. And like,
it's the first like 4 weeks. So like you typically like schools like Illinois Wesleyan, Illinois State, Maryville, Harrisburg, Columbia College, Grandview, all these big schools, like they typically will not get challenged until week 4. Yeah. Week 3, they might like have like a 25-minute, 30-minute game, but like generally, the challenge doesn't kick in until week 4. And like again, that sucks. It's bad for the amateur, like the low level teams, because they're just going in like their first experience with collegiate competitive League of Legends is just getting absolutely massacred, right? Like that's not fun for them. It's not fun for our players, or it's too much fun for our players.
But you guys also don't get much out of it, especially when you're playing weird comps like that. It's like, right. What's even the point?
100%. So like, how do you fix that, right? Well, the answer is you have to create an ecosystem that enables the top teams to play amongst the top teams. But there's not enough consistency because players swap schools all the time, right? Like, we've talked about Drew Dozer a lot, right? Like Drew Dozer may not stay at ISU for 4 years. Just to be clear, Peter, I literally have no clue. I'm not saying that for any specific reason.
Yeah, he's already recruiting him.
I really don't, right? But like you see it every year. Literally,
I sent him the offer yesterday.
Players, no, I would never recruit from Kirk. I love Kirk. Players swap schools in collegiate all the time. They get better.
Really, I didn't know it was that common in collegiate esports.
All the time. I'm in like if Maryville does open tryouts every year for their team, right? And if you go into that Discord, if you're in that Discord, you'll see players from like 15 different schools. I've gone into that Discord and there've been players from my school.
It's like, hey, wait a minute.
Like literally, I guarantee you, if I were to go in there right now, there's at least 2 players from my school in that Discord. And that's fine, because if they're going to get an offer to play at Maryville, I want them to have that offer. And if they want to, then great. And if I'm not offering something and Maryville can, then great, good for them. But like players in the collegiate space move around a lot, which then also creates this ecosystem where like the teams aren't stable, right? Like teams that are good this year may not be good next year. And college players quit teams, right? Like our top laner just left. So like, okay, so if you have a situation where like your player quits, right? Like there's so much instability that's happening, right? Whereas you look at like Clemson football, right? The players on Clemson are probably going to play for Clemson for most of their time in college. And you're not really expecting like the star quarterback of Clemson to go to Alabama necessarily every single year, right?
Well, there's also rules against that where they have to sit out the year, and so it affects that.
Which doesn't exist.
And esports being the Wild West that it is, there's no one governing body for collegiate esports, because there's the NCAA for football, but that doesn't exist for collegiate esports.
Yep. So you have this like there's so much that needs to be fixed. I don't even say fixed, because right, like we're 5 years into this, right? I think fixed is a poor way to approach it. There's so much that needs to grow. There's so much that needs to happen before there's stability that like encourages these big schools. And part of it sucks because like the other part of it is these big schools getting involved, right? I told Kirk, the director of ISU, like before when he got the job there, I was like, this is so exciting for me. And he goes, he's like, is it okay? Like, does it bother you that there's another school in your town that's direct competition? Like, absolutely not, because the way I see it is Illinois State is a D1 school. Illinois State investing in esports is going to encourage their big competitors to invest in esports, right? Just like Illinois Wesleyan investing in esports encourages Illinois Wesleyan competitors to invest in esports. And so there's going to be eventually there will be a trickle effect where like Boise State, Mizzou, ISU, all these big schools will encourage other big schools like Ohio State, things like that. And then you're going to start seeing like Alabama get on board, right?
And then U of I actually fully go for it.
Right. Well, like if Alabama gets on board,
boy,
their big competitors, what, Auburn,
LSU, yeah.
Okay. So if Alabama gets on board, Auburn and LSU are going to start programs. Even if they don't give a damn about esports, they're going to start programs just because Alabama started a program, right? They're not going to let Alabama run away with that. And then if those schools do it, then you're going to see Kentucky do it. And if Kentucky does it, you're going to see Duke do it. And if you see Duke do it, you're going to see Stanford do it, right? And all of these schools are going to invest an amount of money that, like, if I'm Alabama and I recruit a kid to come and play for me, chances are he's going to stay at Alabama for 4 years because
you're Bama.
Because you're right, because the resources at Alabama are going to beat the resources at Illinois Wesleyan, Illinois State, Harrisburg, like any of these other big schools right now. That's why I think that the landscape is going to change massively, because
when the big schools throw their hat in, it's going to get
when the investment changes, the game's going to change. You're going to see more staff. You're going to see programs with like 5 or 6 esports veterans. You're going to see pros. Right now, there's no pros working in the collegiate esports space apart from like Zoo, Joe Meister, and Xpecial at Harrisburg and Maryville, right? Collegiate's a great place for them. They're just not coming because the money's low, right? Like most programs are not paying enough money for someone to retire from professional play to go to collegiate, right? That's going to change one day, and the big schools like Alabama, they're going to recruit people who are currently leading tier 1 programs in collegiate, or they're going to recruit professional esports folk, right? When that happens, game's going to change. Like there's so many things that happen on this like incremental like step ladder that like 5 years from now, collegiate esports is going to look nothing like it does now.
Yeah, I've been trying my hardest to get some of the pros, or at least some of the people that are near pro, especially from Illinois that are up there, especially like League of Legends. There's 2 academy players that are from the Illinois region. They are still too old to have played in like our league or anything, so they missed it, and they also weren't from schools that were participating at the time when they were doing it. But it's like, hey guys, I was like, come on, just come on the podcast, talk to the kids. They'd like to hear how you got from Illinois to be on the academy team, and and they both were like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. But then obviously just schedules, and then academy league started, and then it got busy, and then COVID and everything.
And then everything happened,
and then 2020 happened,
and then 2020 happened, yeah, literally. And so hopefully, I'm hoping to get them on sometime in the near future. Now that academy's over, once we get through this college stuff, I think it could be just a good opportunity for kids in the current situation to talk to pros, because some of our kids will be able to make that skip from high school straight to the pro, or at least straight to academy, 100%. If they wanted to do that. So, and a lot of kids, like I had a challenger level jungler my very first year of coaching League of Legends, and it was like heaven. Like he kind of ran the team with his friends who were all like Diamond Plus players. So I was like, I really didn't have to do too much coaching. So I worked with the JV team and just gave them some guidance on the varsity team, because they kind of all knew how to work well together, knew how to coach each other, because they were already friends. But literally, we finished our last game of the season, and he never picked up another game of League at all after that. And then he went to community college, and I'm like,
come on.
He had the opportunity to go play at anywhere he wanted to that had a program at that time, which wasn't many. There was 4 or 5 schools, but he could have made that. He could have made that jump to pro, or even like tried scouting grounds at that point.
But
and something really cool to see in the scene right now is a lot of teams, and especially LCS teams, are making these sub academy teams and trying to draw in all this native NA talent, or also now pulling OCE because Riv OCE. But it's just really cool to see like all these teams investing now in dedicated teams for not quite academy players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you just mute your mic?
Me?
No.
Oh, sorry. I thought there was something else going on. Sorry. No, I 100%, right? Like the ecosystem's changing, and I think there's potential that like it's bad for collegiate, because like those players are going to have more options that isn't going to take them to collegiate, right? But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's overall good for the space. I think there's a lot happening. A lot of it's good. People need to do their research, figure out what they want to do, where they want to be, where they want to go, and like not only where they want to go, but like where they want to go professionally or after college. And if you can get a general idea of what you want to do, like there's so many good options for you to do that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that definitely, I mean, again, more options is the better, because it's going to raise everyone up, because if somebody is possibly going pro or collegiate and they're on that fence, like they're going to have to weigh their options. And if you bring your program up, be like, hey, we can do this for you. And then, that'll bring kind of everyone up. It's definitely not the best to be the only person doing anything. Having that monopoly is not good for everyone as a whole. So it's kind of better to have that competition, the console wars, carried on to everything where, when no competition, everything gets stagnated. So,
yep, 100%.
I think
absolutely agree.
That's really important. All right. Well, we've been going for quite a while now, and I don't want to hold you too longer because I know you have.
No, you're good. I've enjoyed it. It's been a good conversation.
Yeah. Well, and like that's why I love talking to the college coaches because you guys are always great because you have so much stake in this and you love talking.
Shop for like 2 hours.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But if I was a high school student and I was talking to you and I ask you, well, what can you do for me? Give your 1 minute pitch speech for how you could help a student that's looking to get into esports.
Yeah, so if you are a high school student looking to attend a school that is extremely academically good, we are one of the best in collegiate esports right now. Illinois Wesleyan is the perfect choice for you academically. As far as esports programs goes, we're ranked top 10 consistently in the United States. All of our games are competitive. We have full-time staff, more full-time staff than most programs do. We've got better teams than most programs have. We have a better facility than, I would genuinely say that like right now our facility is the number one facility in collegiate esports, comfortably. If you're looking for opportunities to make it in esports, whether that's competitive, broadcasting, content creation, event management, team management, whatever it may be, we can create those opportunities for you at Illinois Wesleyan 100% with certainty. We've done it before. We have a track record of being successful with our students. Working in esports, it's a passion of ours. And then obviously you get some cool opportunities to compete, right? Like we went to UCI and won the Best Coast Invitational last year. We would have gone to Harrisburg this year. The program's fully funded. So as a student, you don't have to spend any money once you're at the university. We take care of you. If you are interested in learning more or playing for us, you can hit me up on Twitter at FlizzyFletch. It's in my little name bar here. You can find me on email. I'll type that in the chat right now. You can shoot me an email and ask any questions, and I can connect you with our coaches. If you are looking at schools right now, you can come and visit. You can hit up the website iwu.edu/esports to learn a little bit more about our program. There's an interest form you can fill out there.
The @ on your email got cut off in Discord.
Yeah, it got moderated.
They cut that off automatically. You want to type that separately?
Yeah, sure. cfletch@iwu.edu.
Okay.
There's a ton of ways to get a hold of us. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to learn more about you. We'd love to kind of help figure out where you're going. And at the end of the day, if you're a high school student and you just want to learn more about collegiate esports and what opportunities there are, even if you're not coming to Illinois Wesleyan, I'm happy to have a conversation with you. And happy to recommend schools that are good for you, that if you're interested in broadcasting and content creation, then like I can tell you where to go, right? And even if it's not us, I want you to be successful, because at the end of the day, rising tide raises all ships, right? So
I was gonna say it earlier, but that's Coach Jones' thing. Like I let him do it because every time I talk to him, that's what he talks about. He's been talking about it for 4 years now since we started.
Yep.
He's been talking about that. So
at the end of the day, as I said, I want you guys to be successful. Hopefully it's successful at Illinois Wesleyan, but either way, excited to hopefully talk to some of you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, thanks so much for being on here. It's been too long, and I definitely love watching you on all the other podcasts. Definitely, if you need anyone to talk to or want to chat about high school, collegiate, whatever, definitely look me up. I usually will make myself free because talking with most of you guys.
Here either, man.
And I want to. I just posted a link in the Twitch chat of our facility tour,
and it's blanked.
Send it in Discord, and Kennedy can post it.
Yeah, okay. Send it.
Just send it in this.
DM me the Discord and I'll post it because already
just send it to you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So if you're a student, we made that. It's a 5-minute video. It just shows our whole facility.
Yeah, and if you want, don't forget to use the recruiter channel on our Discord to post all this stuff. That way, as people watch this video and watch the VOD, they can see all the information for you.
Yes, sir. Cool.
So, well, thanks again for being here, Fletch. I think it was definitely a pleasure having you guys on here, and just I really want to focus on this, bringing Illinois colleges to the forefront, because I think it's super important for our students to go to schools or know about the schools they're going to and what programs they have. Like, I'm hoping to have pretty much. I think there's about 10 schools that I hit up on Twitter, and all of them within a day or two were like, "Yeah, we'd love to do it. Can you do this
Yep.
Wednesday?" I'm like, "I already booked someone, but let's go next Wednesday." And so I think like literally the next like 8 Wednesdays from like we're booked until almost Christmas now with getting schools on and some other
Hell
people.
yeah.
So
Good.
I'm really excited, and you know, hopefully you can jump in and pester them too, and you know, see what they're
We'll have
doing
some
and
fun
what
with
they
it.
have to shoot for.
Hell yeah. All right. And everyone, final last words of wisdom. Don't forget, do your research.
Oh,
For
yeah.
sure. Yeah, definitely. And that's the one thing that a lot of kids have a hard time doing, research. They
Yep.
should talk to their English teacher. Maybe their
That's
history
right.
teacher. All right, guys, you can reach Fletch. He is on our server in the recruiters channel, so feel free to hit him up. He is just at Fletch there. So if you have any
Keeps it
questions,
simple.
you can keep it there. Yeah, and then you guys can chat other ways. Definitely feel free to email him and check out everything going on at Illinois Wesleyan. Thank you again, Fletch, for joining us. Keith, thank you again for contributing and being here. Going extra long today. We're at just over an hour and a half, or hour and 15 minutes. So
I'll do the
Enjoyed it.
grading tomorrow.
Enjoyed all of it.
Me too. All right, everyone. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.